Cameroonian youths renewed their commitment for a long and lasting partnership with President Paul Biya as he celebrates his 88th anniversary with pomp and fanfare, while the Sangmalima Council laid a foundation for a Paul Biya monument for his birthday gift. Cameroonians living in the diaspora proposed the easing of some administrative procedures to enable them invest more at home, as the government urges them to make good use of the incentives put at their disposal for that purpose. CRTV officially commemorates World Radio Day at the Broadcasting House in Longkak and awards distinctions to some outstanding radio staff in the presence of some retired icons of the corporation. Get echoes of the celebration in this edition, chaired by the Director General, Charles Ndongo. Good evening and welcome on the CRTV. This is the 7:30 News with me, Gladys Tata.
I have personally observed that most of our fellow citizens no longer comply with the protective measures prescribed by the government.
Welcome back from this advertorial from the head of state. The Cameroonian youths and the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, have renewed their bond of fraternity, mutual love and partnership as a symbol of collective commitment to nation building. This was during the 88th birthday anniversary celebration of President Paul Biya, organized by the youths over the weekend at the Multipurpose Sports Complex here in Yaoundé. Over 2,000 youths from across the 10 regions of the country and scores of cabinet ministers attended the colorful birthday ceremony. Unity Palace correspondent Amin Ken Edward revisits the high points of this celebration.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you, Papa. Happy birthday to you.
The tradition was respected by the Cameroonian youth, coming together every February 13 to celebrate the life and achievement of the man they affectionately refer to as their champion, mentor and father, President Paul Biya, on his birthday. And the spectacle in speeches, songs, music and dancing displayed at the Yaoundé Multipurpose Sports Complex was commensurate to the very high esteem and confidence that the youths have for the President of the Republic. Happy birthday, Mr. President, they chanted repeatedly as their emotions went wild, wishing the President of the Republic God's abundant blessing, love, and many more years.
Dear beloved Father, we particularly testify our deep gratitude to your determination to give us a stable Cameroon, unity and pride in this diversity. Happy birthday, dear beloved Father, Excellency Paul Biya. God may continue to grant the health of this country, Cameroon.
The rich content of the speeches pronounced by leaders of different youth associations speak to the degree of affection and partnership existing between the youth and President Paul Biya, as well as their achievements. Enough reason to pledge their constant and unconditional support to an exemplary leadership.
The social strata of Cameroon's youth are gathered here to celebrate yet another birthday that the Lord has graciously bestowed upon you. This bears witness to our gratitude and affection for you.
Some cabinet ministers and distinguished personalities are not the rendezvous, amongst them Philip Mbaragambua, Minister in charge of special duties at the Presidency of the Republic and personal representative of the head of state, who conveyed to the youth a message of hard work, peace, unity and patriotism from President Paul Biya. As a birthday present to the youth, the head of state, President Paul Biya, offered them a free entry to the musical concert of Congolese musician Fally Ipupa and a substantial cash package, and received in return a flamboyant painting of the head of state at the center of his grand opportunity vision. To crown it all, the over 2,000 youths sang and danced to the rhythm of Happy Birthday, taking their appointment for February 13, 2022.
The foundation stone for a Paul Biya monument has been laid in Sangmelima in the south region of Cameroon. It is an anniversary Lima Council alongside the main street of the Ja and Lobo Divisional Headquarters, rebaptized Paul Biya Boulevard. The 80th anniversary celebration in Sangmelima was marked by an ecumenical service led by the Bishop of Sangmelima, Monsignor Christophe Zoa, who prayed for God to grant President Paul Biya good health and wisdom to steer the statecraft to prosperity. Pontianus Lawong reports from CRTV South in Bolova.
Sangmelima's most popular street, stretching from the municipal grandstand to the SGO's office, baptized Paul Biya Boulevard, plus a foundation stone for the construction of a Paul Biya monument at the Avebeye-Kombo Junction. A 25-meter-high structure to sit at the center of what has been conceived to be the most significant leisure park in Cameroon. This is the gift offered by President Paul Biya's division of origin, Ja and Lobo, as he celebrates his 88th anniversary.
Quite a symbolic and strategic site for a monument. It is the only junction that links up all the subdivisions of the Ja and Lobo division.
A gesture in recognition of his sacrifices towards the preservation of peace and unity and the promotion of democracy and development in Cameroon.
The president deserves this type of testimony, this type of monument, because he's the one who brought democracy in our country.
In an ecumenical service led by the Bishop of Sangmelima Diocese, Monsignor Christophe Zoa, the population prayed that God grants Paul Biya good health and wisdom as he stirs the statecraft to prosperity. Through the SDO of the Ja and Lobo, Damien Owono, the population has offered to Paul Biya his statue and a truck full of foodstuff, fruit of their labor.
Away from President Paul Biya's anniversary, the Cameroonian diaspora has been saluted for its contribution to the country's growth through remittances and involvement in sectors such as agriculture and real estate. These are, however, hopes that the investment target other sectors such as energy and research to create real wealth. Clarice Aritakang has more.
More than 5,000 billion CFA francs sent home from Cameroonians living abroad in 14 years. The study conducted by the UN Development Programme highlights the influence of the diaspora on the country's economy.
We are involved in education, we're involved in healthcare sectors, agriculture, industries, and such. We send basically 700 billions every year in this country to help the families, to help the country.
From real estate and agriculture to services, the domains of investment have spread beyond the know-how and expertise of the promoters. However, the Cameroonian diaspora is yet to be strong in areas which have a proven potential to change the domestic socio-economic dynamics.
The government should expand the financial sector and make the process of transfer of remittances to the country much easier and less expensive. If there's a way to reduce custom duties, even give them tax exemptions on some goods.
We can really help Cameroon in sectors like industries, innovation, new energies, and what we call agriculture 3.0, for example. But for that to happen, we need some administrative changes.
Analysts are thus pushing for more collaboration between all parties in order to see the diaspora play a greater role in Cameroon's growth agenda.
Double nationality for about a decade has been the much talked about request of the Cameroonian diaspora for easier integration, but the file is still in process due to its diplomatic complexities. This notwithstanding, government has several platforms for the integration of both the illegal and legal migrants. Kilian Dandifon reports on some of the platforms.
Illegal immigrants constitute difficult to handle diaspora, but government has integrated many returnees.
We have helped more than 4,500 migrants to return to the Cameroon, and on on those 4,500 migrants, we are help more than 2,500 of them to have a financial support to create their enterprise.
The support program for the return and integration of Cameroonian diaspora, PATYCHOU, has other platforms.
We also help initiative of youth from the diaspora to come and teach youth in Cameroon how to use computer to make programs. We make many campaigns, sensitization campaign against irregular migration.
Partnership and education are also of great import.
We are help 38 initiative of the diaspora through in many domains. We help a association from America, diaspora from America, to come and learn to girls how they can make the water potable.
The double nationality, file in process, trade and image building are crucial elements of diaspora integration.
Well, joining me in the set is Joyce Kimbe-Fowaju. Good evening, Joyce.
Good evening, Gladys.
And welcome.
You're welcome.
Yeah, well, Joyce, can you just tell me, so what could be done, by the Cameroonian diaspora to foster development back at home?
Yes, Gladys, we must not lose sight of the fact that here although there are some vocal Cameroonian diaspora who see nothing good in the country and would go any mile to rubbish the image, there are equally existing millions of patriotic citizens abroad who have the interest of their country, Cameroon, at heart. Proof is that many of them have been clamoring for reforms that can, as we heard in the previous papers, that could help them conveniently contribute in the country's development. If they didn't love their country, they wouldn't have been asking the government to, for instance, create a specialized administration in charge of the diaspora or pass a law giving room for double nationality. The head of state has frequently called on this fellow compatriot based abroad to come back with their knowledge and resources to build a modern society back home. It must be said here that there is nothing more than home. Once more, home is home. Home is home. One never chooses to be born where they are born. You and I have never been chosen to be Cameroonian. Being a Cameroonian should therefore be seen as a source of pride. And with this, whatever you have or are should be tailored towards making things better in our motherland. By virtue of their training and experience in developed societies, Cameroonians in the diaspora can offer a lot to advance the cause of socio-economic development. They can borrow a leaf from other experiences of diasporas, notably Mali and Senegal, and even the much revered China. Gladys, their diasporas have transformed themselves into valuable assets and in pushing through their country's growth. For example, see this. According to the Central Bank, the contribution of Senegalese diaspora in external financing represent about a whopping 900 billion CFA francs annually. It's the primary source of external financings for the country. Senegalese president attests in one of his nation's speech that amounts transferred by immigrants to the country for development project is double the international public aid Cameroonian diasporas can copy. Can you imagine a bridge like that of Douala, for instance? We're taking an example. The bridge over the Vuri River costed Cameroon at about 141 billion CFA francs. We're talking diaspora in a country that churned into their country about 900 billion. If now the Cameroonian diaspora could put themselves together and put in money, they could finance projects. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, Joyce, and what do you think, could be done, to encourage the diaspora to be more involved, in investing in the country's development?
A right question there, Gladys. While beckoning on Cameroonians abroad to bring their contribution back here and bear on the development of their homeland, the powers that be can equally as well consider some of their legitimate pleas and make the environment more convenient. Government has been doing quite a lot, notably organizing a diaspora forum. We know some years back it was organized here in Cameroon and in Yaoundé, and putting a whole committee for the diaspora during the 2019 national dialogue, the major national dialogue. Much can still and should be done. Citizens based abroad to mutually finance projects back home. The environment, most of them complain about the customs. It's true, the customs and the taxation, they are some of the parts of the economy where money comes to finance our economy. But they could have special attributes, those who send in money. notwithstanding, Gladys, we should make it clear here that a lot of Cameroonians send money as remittance back home to our families. You have a brother, you have a son abroad, they send money. They send money maybe for health bills, but we're talking here about investing in projects where if they advertise a project, Cameroonians could put themselves into groups and then come in. Instead of the country borrowing money from the Bank of China, for instance, or from the World Bank, they could say, okay, we in the diaspora, we have enough money. We'll finance this project. That is planting their money back in their country to harvest interest. That could be, well, for the development of the country and also for their own economic growth, Gladys.
Thank you very much, Joyce, for being here.
You're welcome.
And that is Joyce Kimbe, forward you senior economic analyst here on the CRTV. Thank you for being here.
Thank you
and
so
see you
much,
some
Gladys.
other time.
Thank you, Gladys.
And we now go down to this Nigerian-born Ozoki Okojo Iweala has been appointed as the first woman and African to head the World Trade Organization. Dr. Iweala Okonjo served as Nigeria's finance minister and 25 years at the World Bank. The 66-year-old development economist believes trade is an instrument to take people out of poverty and will have the challenge of coming up with new ways to boost trade on competitive terms. Under her stewardship, the World Trade Body will equally be expected to fix the U.S.-China trade war. And after several meetings held in Yaoundé, N'Djamena, and recently in Paris to mobilize funds for the financing of CEMAC integrated projects, the population of CEMAC member states are keen on seeing these projects executed, which is why a second ad hoc meeting is holding in Douala to spell out the modalities for execution, as you tell us, Mercy Ashu of CRTV Littoral in Douala.
From words to action, this is where ad hoc committee members in charge of mobilizing finances for CEMAC projects are looking to as they meet downtown Accra for the second time to identify projects already set for execution. Out of 12 projects selected, Cameroon is set to benefit from projects related to education, electricity, and road infrastructure.
We were lucky to get financing for the electricity connection between Cameroon and Chad. Then we have other projects like a bridge on between Cameroon and Equatorial Guinea. We are working on the university, Central African University. That is a university with a campus in Sangbelima and another in Weso.
For 5 days, the ad hoc committee members, who are experts from BILINGUAL, the African Development Bank, the World Bank, will communicate to CEMAC finance ministers their calendar of events for these projects that should integrate the sub-region. The deliberations that require the input of experts via video conferencing is taking place within the context of the respect for barrier measures against the coronavirus.
The Cameroon Customs Anti-Fraud and Smuggling Unit, Halcomi, recently intercepted several operations of smuggling, contraband and illicit trade within Cameroon's borders. Customs fraud, which is on the rise, is said to affect state budget at over 250 billion CFA francs annually. With the reinforcement of Halcomi operations, CRTV's Veronica Benyela has been investigating on the impact of smuggling on the economy and measures to curb illicit trade. In her report from Douala.
Economy. From drinks through medication to luxury cars, no sector is considered too dangerous nor too risky for illicit traders.
We seize 4,120 kilograms of illicit medicine. We seize illicit medicine because medicine only heals when it is produced, it is stored, it is transported in the proper facilities.
Smugglers also use the clause of cross-border customs procedures to neighboring Chad and Central African Republic to escape the payment of customs duties. The chief of operations says luxury vehicles are the most trafficked.
When vehicles enter the country without paying customs duty, government loses a lot of revenue.
Seizures, as such, has contributed enormously in dissuading smuggling because corporates are levied heavy fines. Our Halcomi has increased vigilance and random controls are coming up in the days ahead.
We see this opportunity to sensitize the public and that people who own vehicles and that they are not sure that those vehicles paid custom duties, they can come to the customs and inquire.
It is worth noting that since the institution of ARCOMI in 2016, operations are already in its third phase.
Some retired CRTV radio icons joined the Director General Sean Dongo at the Radio House here in Longkak for a ceremony to mark World Radio Day. During the event, distinctions were given to some outstanding radio staff. CRTV's Director General Sean Dongo, who chaired the event, also unveiled the radio's Corridor of Fame. Details with Beatrice Ngom.
The world celebrated the radio on February 13. CRTV honored this beautiful means of communication that has touched lives across the globe. Monday 15, a cream of 12, carefully selected as the best in 6 categories, were awarded. From the best radio presenter, radio journalist to programmer, animator, technician, and best production, these men and women of the radio were extolled in a solemn manner.
You work tirelessly to make the radio a treasure, a pleasure, and a leisure.
Special guests to the event were some icons of the yesteryears, today nostalgic about their stay at the Radio House, but elated to be recognized. Their faces are revealed in portraits on the corridors of fame.
It is a kind of radio museum. There you will find the portraits of those who started the radio and who made a name in this house. Let their portraits inspire you and push you to work even harder so that one day your own portrait will also be placed there.
4 decades down the lane, memories of yesterday and today were revisited by these icons, some of whom spent an entire life at the Radio House and still are homesick, thinking about the microphone.
Meanwhile, the Director General of the CRTV, Sean Dongo, flanked by his guest, as you saw there, also inaugurated a renovated CRTV radio newsroom. The refurbished workspace for journalists has been equipped with cutting-edge technology to make work much easier for all production crew. Visiting the space, the Director General and his guests were satisfied with the remodeled newsroom. They were equally unanimous. It's a beautiful newsroom that rivals none in the country, as you just saw the beautiful images there. Cameroonian music is far from its glorious years. From the music that gained fans across Africa and the world, the Cameroonian brand of music is barely consumed out of the national borders today. People have blamed the heydays music in Cameroon that is facing to the fact that there is little or no lobbying for Cameroonian music and a poor distribution network, which makes it difficult for Cameroonian songs to be at the same level of competition with other nations. Our reporter, Beatrice Losamba, talked to some of the actors involved about how Cameroonian to become more international.
Talents in the music has known successes with global music icons. Today, fans across the world still nod to the Makossa and Bikusi brands of music from Cameroon, but in relatively fewer numbers than in the 70s, 80s, or 90s. Why?
In those days, we had producers who had the means to record music in good companies. With the advent of piracy led on worsened by development in the digital industry, it's become very difficult for them to sell.
It boils down to the fact that Cameroonians themselves don't valorize what is jazz.
A local population that yearns for foreign music, but promoters too who expose them to the foreign beats.
The process of recording and putting music in the market is no longer followed, which means therefore that anything goes.
In spite of all the odds, Cameroonian musicians stay ambitious, but need governments to regulate the sector and provide more support.
Let the Minister of Arts and Culture hit the hand on the table and say, no, every media house in Cameroon should play 80% of Cameroon music.
If the artists themselves were united, we would discover that they could have been forcing the government to come out with laws that will regulate this sector.
It is also believed that a renowned musical festival would revive Cameroonian music and help put it on the same level of competition as other nations.
I urge you once again to put on your face masks, to wash your hands regularly, and to consult a physician or any other health personnel if you notice any symptoms. This is the only way to save lives and to curb the spread of the virus.
The Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, has congratulated health personnel in the country for the key role they played during the just-ended African Nations Championship by limiting the spread of the coronavirus. He was speaking last Friday while chairing an evaluation meeting of the competition. But what can we retain so far after the Shan? Let's join Baldwin Sama at the Public Health Emergency Operations Center for details. Hello, Baldwin.
Good evening to you, Gladys Tata. They were so involved, so active throughout the African Nations Championship, these health practitioners, and that is why the minister had to congratulate them for the key role they played throughout the competition. As you actually asked, what can we retain at the end of this African Nations Championship with regards to the respect of anti-COVID-19 barrier measures? Let's find out from Dr. Joseph Fokam, who is our guest tonight. Good evening, Doctor.
Good evening, Baldwin.
Briefly, what can we retain after this African Nations Championship?
Effectively, Baldwin, the African Nation Championship in terms of COVID-19 respect of barrier measures was a very big success in Cameroon. And why? Because among those that were within this competition, we were able to test, to track, and to isolate all the positive cases. And because of this success story, we were able to contain the positive cases and making sure there is no spread within or without those teams that attended the championship. And thanks to that, Cameroon was able to maintain a stable rate of COVID-19 positive cases during Shan, which means our health system is really effective. And we are going to use this same success story against the Mount Cameroon Rose of Hope and also against the upcoming Feka Basket Championship.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Okam, for explaining all these to us. We are reminded of the necessity to continue respecting the different outlined barrier measures so as to be able to limit the spread of COVID-19 in Cameroon. Back to you, Gladys Tata.
Thanks once more, Baldwin Sama, and hope to be in your company tomorrow. And the Sultan Ibrahim Bombonjoya has inaugurated the reconstructed town gate of Fumban, seat of Bamun dynasty. The ceremony, which took place in the presence of administrative and traditional authorities, revealed to the public innovations made, one of which is the addition of the royal chair, the throne of the Sultan. Cynthia Saptala was in Fumban for that ceremony and reports that the doorway into the capital city of the Noon division was burnt in a fire incident in November last year. Cynthia?
The three-pillar, two-gateway inaugurated on Valentine's Day is one more artifact of the Bamun dynasty. A far cry from what their ancestors built to stop attacks from the Fufube, the imposing structure contains some relics, showcases some figures of the Bamun history and elements of the culture. But the most noticeable change is the Sultan's throne, now part and parcel of the gate.
Généralement, la porte de tranchée est un symbole.
Generally, the doorway is a symbol. It is there we celebrate all traditional and cultural activities. During the Ngun festival, the Sultan normally starts war from that gate. We wanted to build a throne there so as not to constantly be transporting one from the palace for our festivities.
After an inaugural tour by the Sultan, the colorful ceremony organized in Fumban was also characterized by several traditional rites, which according to customs is meant to fortify the gates.
Depuis longtemps, nous sommes les animistes et nous croyons
en seul Dieu vivant dans le champ de Raphia.
Though intended palace celebrations were cancelled due to the recent loss of the Sultan's brother, the people still beamed with pride at this new doorway born from the ashes.
And we conclude this newscast with this advertorial from the South region, with one of our renowned maritime companies has given the name Kribi to one of its vessels. The CGM Kribi was welcomed at the Kribi Deep Sea Port Mboro this Monday by the port authorities, who say the name will boost the image of the Kribi Deep Sea Port on the competitive market. Polycarp Abie tells us more from CRTV South.
CGM Kribi, a 255 meters long, 14 meters deep, and with a capacity to carry 5,500 containers of 20 feet ship, is the first of its kind to dock at the Kribi Deep Sea Port since it went operational in 2018. The vessel, having left Singapore 17 days ago with a crew of 20 members and goods on board, landed at the port of Moro safely and were received by Bertrandi, commander of the Kribi Deep Sea Port.
We are pleased to welcome the CGM Kribi. That's the name that was given to the vessel, showing a sign of sympathy, sign of a strong symbolic sign.
Being the first time to engage in the African-Asia voyage through Kribi, the ship captain received a symbolic gift from the Director General of the Kribi Deep Sea Port, Patrice Melon, presented by his representative, commander of the Kribi Deep Sea Port.
Yes, of course, it's nice that people recognize the vessel, and also CGM as owner of vessel, and as I said, we have a good time and we are very pleased.
This symbol attached to CGM does not only tighten their partnership, but makes the Kribi Deep Sea Port and Cameroon known in maritime trades.
Having Kribi as a vessel is a kind of promotion that CGM is going to carry out, so that the Kribi port will be well known.
Before sailing for Cotonou in Benin, the vessel, flying the Malta flag, has received the tribute it deserves at the Kribi Deep Sea Port in Mboro. The two tugs baptized King Madula and King Mayase entered into action, forming a guard of honor, sprayed magnificent jets of water, a ritual for the baptism of the Kribi Deep Sea Port as a farewell.
Well, that's where we draw the curtains. Thanks for watching. Join Adel Mbala at 8:30 for the news in French. I'll be back same time tomorrow. Until then, stay blessed. Good night.
Despite our efforts, COVID-19 plunged many families into mourning and seriously hampered the functioning of our economy and society.
CRTV News, ici, toute l'info.